Let's get into it. Welcome to the Candid Shop. We speaking on things you not. Just press play and let it rock. Hey, welcome to the Candid Shop. Whoa, welcome to the Candid Shop. We speaking on things you not. Just press play and let it rock. Hey, welcome to the Candid Shop. Whoa, feel like we going through mad things. Gotta keep it real when they choose not. We gon' talk about it when the news drop. Welcome to the show where you know we don't fake this. Keep your opinion to yourself if it don't make sense.
Hola, Podcast Nation. It's your girl, Candidly Kristen, and this is the Candid Shop. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of sitting down with Miss Carisa Montooth. Carisa Montooth is a love coach and certified sixth-generation energy healer who shows single women how to attract and date marriage-minded men without self-sabotage. With a balance of practical tools and powerful energetic healing techniques, she helps her clients identify their blind spots in love, heal their subconscious blocks to love, and navigate the dating world with grace and confidence. So welcome, Miss Carisa to the Candid Shop.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. You know, February is Love Month and Black History Month, so the entire month of February, I'm doing episodes on love with different dating coaches to try to give people some hope and some help for finding the kind of love they want in a practical way that works for them, or if they're in a relationship, to keep that relationship fire burning. So I guess I need to start with explain to me and my listeners what it means to, number one, be an energy healer, and number two, be a sixth generation energy healer.
So a lot of times when people are working with a love coach, they're working with somebody who is going to help them with the strategy of dating. Mm-hmm. So that has to do with things like, how do I create an online dating profile that's authentic but still attractive to other people? Or what places do I go, to find compatible partners or things like that. It has to do with dating strategy, which are all things to do with mindset. And they're really processes that have a lot to do with our conscious mind. But energy work and energy healing has to do with the deeper wounds that we have that we carry forward with us a lot of times from our childhood, from our first relationships with our parents, or through traumatic breakups and heartache and those kinds of situations. And if we haven't healed those things, then the other strategy part doesn't help us.
Got it.
We'll still keep living the same patterns over and over again in love, and we'll keep trying to resolve them with our conscious mind when the blocks to our happiness are actually in our subconscious mind. So for me, what energy work is it's going deep into those subconscious places to help heal those wounds and replace those limiting beliefs that are things like, I can't have a relationship and have money at the same time, or I can't have a relationship until I lose weight, or everyone who I am with is just going to cheat on me like this last person did, or I'm always going to have to settle in love. Whatever those types of beliefs are, they are deeply embedded in our subconscious mind, and they need to be healed. They need to be healed and cleared and addressed if we want to not only attract love, but also sustain a happy, healthy relationship.
Got it. Okay. And what does energy work look like? Are we talking about hypnosis or Reiki or just affirmations without giving away trade secrets?
Well, sometimes it looks similar to Reiki because it's distance healing. Okay. For the most part. So for example, when I'm clearing a particular belief from someone, I do connect to them in energy. So that's like an aura to aura connection with their permission and consent. And so that does look a lot like Reiki. And other parts of it, there's always a connection between my aura and theirs if we're clearing something energetically. Okay. Affirmations and things like that are all things that have to do with mindset and changes to our conscious thought processes. And those things are helpful too, but they take a long time to get into our subconscious. And most people give up for, affirmations actually penetrate to that level where they're absorbed by our subconscious mind and then become true for us. And in the meantime, while we're trying to get that affirmation down into our subconscious mind, we're just continuously triggering our resistance to that affirmation. So if we're saying like, love is easy for me, and our subconscious mind is saying, yeah, no, it's not.
No.
We're just triggering that over and over and over again. And then that makes it especially hard, to get into our subconscious. So I do energy work because we're not having to deal with resistance. We're not triggering resistance. We're going straight to where the subconscious beliefs are, which is in our, you could say it's our aura, you could say it's in our soul, you could say, however you want to say it. People describe it in different ways, across different religions, but essentially it's our, energy body.
Okay, that's interesting. I've talked to several different, love, intimacy, relationship coaches, and with the exception maybe of one other, they didn't really talk about that part of the coaching process, which I think is awesome because subconscious is where we live and move and why we do the things we do.
If we don't address things there, then anything else that we have, it's just going to, any other tools that we try to use, it's just going to feel like we're trying to drive with our parking brake on. It's just going to feel so difficult. And we change the nature of what we actually are attracting into our lives when we deal with what's going on at that deeper energetic level. So it just makes the whole process feel much more easy, because we're restoring our divine blueprint of what love should be for us in a way that it's like changes the way that it shows up in our lives.
Nice. Okay. Well, talk to me about the why and the how you started love coaching. Like, what led you down this path?
So it's kind of funny because, I'm a 6th generation love healer. And so from what that means is like I'm the 6th in the line. So going back to my great grandmother, she was a healer. And really, most of my grandmothers on my maternal side were healers.
Okay.
And they were healers in different ways. Some of them were root workers, some of them were herbalists, some of them were midwives, some of them were dowsers. So we've always been spiritually awake in my family and aware of that side. But when I was growing up, it just seemed like it felt like we were doing a lot, like I was watching people in my family do a lot of superstitious things. It seemed like superstition to me. You always think that you know better.
Right.
Right. You always think, you reach that age as like a teenager and you're like, I know everything.
Right.
Yep. And so what I thought I would do is I knew that I wanted to help people, but I thought I'm really tired of people like kind of looking askance at us. And I'm going to try to do this quote unquote in a legit way. I'm going to help people in that way. So I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and I got my master's degree in counseling. And I thought I would help people in that way. And I started out really focused on personality types, because that was fascinating to me that we could come here with our own individuality, but that there could be ways to understand that. Right. And I wrote a book that had to do with matching up your personality type with your job, with your career choice. And I started to teach classes about that in community college. But what I found was women were coming up to me after that class and they would say, I am this personality type and my boyfriend is that personality type. So how do I talk to him about deepening our relationship? Or how do I ask him for what I need, in this way? Or how do I try to figure out, what he needs,
right.
And so what I was finding was that the women that were connecting to me and reaching out to me wanted help with love. They were like, we can figure out jobs. We can figure out money. We want help with love.
Right. Okay.
I was like, okay, great. And I was like, well, I can't help you the way I want to help you in a community college setting. So I started to have my business on the side. And I started to grow it and develop it and really just also see what I was doing consistently that was working for people, because, coming from an academic background and a spiritual background, it was like, I wanted to look at the data kind of and say, like, are there particular steps in a specific order I'm doing that are getting a good result for people? And that was how I created my formula that I use with my private clients, which is a 5-part formula, because I was seeing that when I was using that with my clients, 87% of my clients were in happy, healthy relationships within 3 to 6 months of us working together.
That's a great stat. 87% is amazing.
Yeah, and it was a powerful thing for me because I was like, well, I know that it's something I can replicate with people, which was really important for me, to be able to really be able to articulate what I was doing, what I was doing and what their path was going to look like. I didn't want it to just be like, oh, just believe me because I'm telling you,
Right. Because I said so.
Because I said so. It's like certain things, of course you have to take a leap of faith for certain things, but there are other things that you can prove.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to do that. So for me, that's how that started. It was the kind of thing where I was sort of running away from my destiny, from kind of my legacy that I was given, which I, later was able to see as being something that was a really valuable gift that I could use to help people.
Absolutely. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. By the end of this conversation, I'll probably be like, let me call her. No. So let's talk a little bit about self-sabotage, blind spots. What do you typically see coming through the door in terms of typical blocks that your clients have?
So there are about 20 blocks that I see, and I'll share a couple of them.
Okay.
But there are 20 blocks that I see that are really, really common. And most of my clients are women. And the blocks that I see with them have to do with believing that they've already had the love that like if they've had a relationship that felt like a soulmate relationship and it ended, they have a block that says, well, I've already had all the love that I'm allowed to have. Nobody's lucky enough to have 2 soulmates in their life.
Right.
I've already had my share of love, so I don't get to have any more. Sometimes I see a block, especially with women who are entrepreneurs or CEOs, where it's like, I don't get to have love and money. That's a big block that I see. Another block that I see, some of them are things that are like, they seem trivial, but they cause a lot of pain.
Okay.
So it's a block that says something like, I need to lose weight before I can be worthy of love, before I can be attractive. And then other blocks have to do not with the belief about herself, but her belief about what's possible for her. So it's a belief that says something like, Black women aren't as desirable. I see that belief. And they're beliefs that we absorb, and they're not true, but they feel true to us, so they have to be dealt with.
Right.
And sometimes I see beliefs that say things like all men cheat, or nobody wants a single mother.
Or I'm getting too old.
I'm getting too old. That's a big one that I see really often. And my clients are from 23 to 60. So,
nice. Okay.
And I always say life is never done with you, and love is always there for you.
Right. Right. Well, that's good to hear.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And women feel at different stages. Everybody thinks that they are the toughest case. So anytime anyone comes to talk to me, they're always like, I know I saw, the case study of this other person, but I am a tough case. So let me share with you, what's going on. Because when you hear what's going on with me,
right.
And I always understand that because we always feel like that,
Yes.
So those are a lot of the blocks that I see. I'm too old. The time for love is past. They might have a block that's like, if it hasn't happened yet, then it won't ever happen. That's a really common block that I see. Or there's a block that says, I'll have it as soon as I perfect myself.
Got it.
Some version of as soon as I am good enough. Anytime a block has as soon as in it, and we place our happiness in the future, it never comes because the future never comes. We're always in right now.
Yeah. Then that as soon as never really happens, or it's always pushed back. Like, okay, I got here, but now as soon as this, or I get to this level of success, or whatever it is. I wanted to talk a little bit about self-sabotage because I see that in myself sometimes in relationships, and I don't know what to do with it or how to not do it. So when you have somebody in front of you that clearly self-sabotages, or even if I can say that I know that I do it, but some people don't realize that they do it. What does that look like in terms of dialing that back? Is that energy? Is that more something else in your toolbox?
It's usually always to do with energy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually something someone's not aware that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it because I look at their intention and their behavior. And when those two things don't align,
Yeah.
then that's when we look at that and say, okay, so what you said was, I want a happy, healthy relationship. But what you did was you agreed to have dinner with your ex.
Yep. Got it. Yep.
So I'm like, so let's look at this. And
Yep.
it's 9 times out of 10, it's always an energetic thing, because they always know that the dinner with the ex is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
And they have always already agreed to do it before they reach out to me, because they
Okay.
know that I'm going to bring that up and shine some light on the idea that that might be a self-sabotage thing.
Right.
So the way that I begin to help them see it so that we can then work on it, they have to be consciously aware of it, and then we can work on it in their subconscious.
Okay.
But first they have to be consciously aware of it. So sometimes I will ask them, what is your perfect end game for this
Mm-hmm.
particular thing? How would the perfect dinner with your ex go? And how likely is that to happen?
Right.
Because what the perfect end game is often like, I want him to give me some kind of a plausible reason for why he hurt me for so long.
Mm.
And it needs to be something that makes sense to me. And it needs to be a good enough reason that I'm going to forgive him. And then he needs to do something that's going to reassure me that it will not happen again and that he's changed.
Yeah.
Which is a really tall order.
That's a
And
tall one.
and it's usually not in alignment with reality. And as soon as they're talking about that, they're like, yeah, I can kind of see that this is not likely that's not
To
likely to
happen.
happen.
Right.
And in those types of scenarios, I never dissuade them from having the dinner, because sometimes you have to go have dinner with your ex to realize once and for all he's not going to change.
Right.
So I don't try to dissuade them from doing that and having that conversation, because when it comes down to it, their soul's wisdom is always sovereign.
Mm.
And there are things that they're going to create for themselves, situations they're going to create for themselves that are going to afford them deeper healing.
Okay. Okay.
So I never try to like bring my agenda to it. But what I
Right.
do is help them see the discrepancy between, this is my intention and this is my behavior. My behaviors are not supporting my intention.
Mm.
And then we look at, what is it you are really trying to get from this with your ex? I am trying to heal my feeling of abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to prove to myself that not all men are like this and not all men will treat me this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to feel desirable. I'm trying to restore my feeling that I'm connected. I am trying to create love. And so when we get to what they're really trying to do, that's when we can go, all right, let's look at what this belief is or this block is, and let's clear that. And sometimes it's not a belief or a block. It's that maybe they have an abandonment wound because of not having a parent in the home, usually a
Mm-hmm.
father.
Mm-hmm.
And so they attract relationships where the men are always abandoning them, and they're always trying to prove to the men that they are worthy of being loved. A lot of times what we'll do is, there's an actual, and this is gonna some of the stuff I'm gonna say is gonna sound woo woo,
That's okay. I
I'm just
like
gonna
woo
say it
woo.
anyway. Okay. Because it's true, and that's where we're gonna go. So
Okay.
sometimes what they actually have is an energy cord that attaches them to their
Mm-hmm.
father.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a loving bond. It's just like a sewer line between them and their father in energy. So when we cut that, after about 2 or 3 days, usually for 2 or 3 days, they feel really tired,
Mm-hmm.
and they might have dreams about their dad. And then after that, they feel like a lightness.
Mm.
And after maybe a week or so, they feel differently about all of the relationships that had the flavor of abandonment.
Got it.
Yeah, and sometimes their father will actually contact them. And sometimes their father is maybe still in their life
Mm-hmm.
already, but they feel differently toward him. Like that feeling of like clinginess or compulsion to have him show me he loves me,
Got it.
that like mellows, and then they
Okay.
don't feel that push.
Now let me
So
ask you this. Is that energetic cord, is that possible between a woman and say a father who passed away before she got to know him? So it still was an abandonment to her.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And
Okay.
also our family of origin, even we can even have things that impact our relationship that have to do with siblings that we never met, or
Mm-hmm.
siblings who, like if our parents had a miscarriage before we were born,
Mm-hmm.
or if we have half siblings that we don't have any connection to. I had a client who had half siblings that she never met, but she knew that her father abandoned her and her mother
Right.
and her siblings to go raise other children.
Mm. Okay.
And so she actually had this pattern of trying to prove that she was worthy and desirable in relationships, and having people attracting people who were just using her and then abandoning her. And
Right.
it wasn't until the cords were cut, not only with her father, but with her half siblings, whom she'd never met, that she was able to break that pattern in her current love relationships.
Got it.
So it's really interesting because people always think when we start to work together, we're definitely going to do work with exes
Mm-hmm.
and your energy around your exes, because we,
Yeah.
of course, we are, but it's usually deeper than that. And they're always like, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know we were going to be like this deep about everything. And I'm like,
You want to get married or no?
yeah. And then like, well, do you want to just date, or do you want to have a
Right.
relationship?
Right. Right.
Like sustain a relationship,
Yep.
you know? So we always end up going really deep with those things because that's important to me.
Yeah.
The wedding is great, but the marriage is what matters. If that's what
Amen.
you're looking for.
Yes. Now, you've worked primarily with women who are looking to date with the purpose of marriage, long term commitment, that sort of thing. Do you work with women who just kind of want to learn how to date for fun?
Yes. Usually it's interesting. If I'm working with someone who is just out of a long term relationship,
Mm-hmm.
usually she's not saying, her goals are usually, I want to heal from the heartbreak,
Right.
and I want to just begin to date again. I want to begin to relate to men and
Hmm.
be in my femininity.
Right.
And I want to have fun, and I want to have pleasure, and I want to have sex, and I want to be courted,
Right.
and
Yes. Hmm.
those kinds of things. And
Got
I'm
it.
like, okay, yeah, I get that. We don't have to do the soulmate portion of things,
Right.
yet. We can focus on the self-love, the healing, and the, how do I want to show up now? What do I want
Right.
my energy to be like? And what's funny is, I mean, I've had women who have been like, I just want a sex buddy, can we do that? And I'm like, sure. You can have whatever you want.
Right.
you know but what was funny was, especially with the last person, when we did that, her sex buddy, it was great. She had exactly the relationship or type of connection, rather, because some people think of that as a connection, some people think of that
Yes.
as a relationship.
Right.
She had exactly the type of relationship that she wanted with him. She was a widow. Her husband had died 6 years previous to that.
Okay.
So for her, she wasn't, and she really felt that her husband was her soulmate. So for her, she was just trying to feel connected to life again, and
Mm-hmm.
open to love again, and she just hadn't had sex in a really long time. So
Right.
I was like, well, let's get you a sex buddy if that's what you want. That's totally fine.
Yep.
And so we manifested that person in her life, or I should say she manifested that person in her life.
Mm-hmm.
We worked on it together, and then it was great for a few months, but then she went to walk him out to his car once, and because we look for different things in a sex buddy relationship than we do in
Right.
a partner,
Right.
life partner relationship. So she went to walk him out to his car, and he had to start his car with like a screwdriver. And she was like, I think I'm ready for a real partner now.
Like
So I
enough of
was
this.
like, she was like, no, that was cool. That was good. That was good. But like,
Yeah.
I think I'm ready
Time
to
for
kind of
something new.
to go to a new level in
Right.
terms of life partners. And I
Got
was like,
it.
that's great. And it needed, that was something she needed to have happen,
Right.
before she could go to that next level, because that's what was comfortable for her. That's what her, we only can manifest what our subconscious believes is possible for us to manifest. So sometimes we have to do that in chunks, like baby steps.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's okay for your want to change. Like I wanted that, but now I want this, and that's okay. And did you coach her through dating with life partnership in mind?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, because that was the next step for her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. Like I try to just listen to what it is that my client feels like they need right then,
Mm-hmm.
and then because it's like they're, like I said, they're, your spirit is, your soul is sovereign, its wisdom is sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
So once you begin your healing process, it's like your soul, your subconscious is going to go, oh, you want to listen now? Okay, great. And then it will start bringing things up. It will either
Right.
manifest these opportunities in your experience, or give you a it will give you an insight, and you'll say, oh my gosh, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know I believed this. Can we clear this now?
Right.
And you say, and yes, we can do that. So I have an audio healing program. It's called the Overnight Heartache Cure. And
Mm-hmm.
this particular client was listening to it in between her sessions, or I gave her homework was to listen to it in between her sessions.
Okay.
And she was really trying to recover from heartbreak. She was in her early 20s. She had broken up with someone who she thought was really like her person, and
Okay.
she was having a very difficult time. She went into a deep depression. She was really struggling, and she just wasn't even. She was so sad that she didn't feel like herself,
Right.
and she was really struggling. So what she did, she kept coming back in between sessions and saying, well, I feel like it's taking a long time, and I'm worried that I'll never get over this, and those kinds of things. And in between each session, I kept asking her, are you listening to your audios? Are you listening to your audios?
Mm-hmm.
And she kept thinking, well, I have to wait until the situation is perfect. Like, I have to be able to listen to it when I don't have anything else going on that day, and I have to this and that. And I was like, the thing though is, love, you don't have to do healing perfectly.
Right.
You just have to get started.
Right.
So she started to listen to them. And then one of the things that she had on a vision board was that she wanted to be able to have like some great girls trip, but she didn't really have any close girlfriends because she was holding everyone at arm's length because she was in this pain.
Right.
Well, she met someone at work. She met this really great woman at work that she had a lot in common with, and they decided to take a girls trip, and it was this amazing girls trip. So she had just started listening to the audios for maybe like a week. So she
Nice.
had this girls trip. She had a great time, and on the way back, she was like, you know what? I think I might be over him. She was like,
Love
I
it.
remember feeling like I missed him, but I don't feel like that now.
Right.
And that's what
That's
the healing
awesome.
process was for her. So as soon as she started to clear those things with the audios, then she manifested the healing she needed, which was the girls' trip.
Right. Yep.
Because during the girls' trip, she looked around and she's like, what a big world there is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much joy out here, and so much connection, and so much goodness out here. Like, she thought about, she was like, Randy who? Like,
Right. What was his name again?
Yeah, she got home and she was just like,
Awesome.
yeah, I don't need to, like, I'm good. I was like, okay, great.
Nice. I love it, love it, love it. So, again, without revealing trade secrets or going too much into your actual program, could you share with me and my listeners some of the tools in your coaching toolbox?
Well, it would make more sense if I share my actual formula, the 5 parts of my formula.
Okay. All right.
That I use with my clients, because each part helps with the next part, and there are tools that kind of help with each part.
Okay.
So the first part is the healing part, the energetic healing. And one of the tools that I use for that is my Overnight Heartache Cure audio program.
Okay.
Because that helps to clear blocks to love on a deep subconscious level while they sleep without triggering resistance.
Got it.
So that's where we're healing the wounds that have to do with anger, like still carrying anger about an ex.
Right.
That's where we heal wounds that have to do with shame, especially if someone was in a situationship and never went where they wanted it to be, and they could never, they just never got to experience the fullness of that relationship. They can actually have a lot of shame about that if they were like the side person or accepted things that they knew were not good for them.
Right.
And a lot of times shame can be a difficult thing for us to heal on our own because it thrives in silence and secrecy.
Indeed.
And we don't want to tell people about it, but we have to shine light on it to heal it. So that's where we, in that program, they have audios that they listen to with very specific healing statements with binaural beats that help to clear those things out on a deep subconscious level. And so that, in conjunction with the energy work that we do in our actual healing sessions together, makes up the bulk of that step one, which is the healing. Okay. And the second part of what we do, it has to do with getting clarity about what they want.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when people are thinking about love, they are just thinking about what they don't want because they're thinking about their ex. And they're like, well, I never want to go through that again. I never want to be with somebody who does this. I never want to be. And that's fine if it gives you the clarity about what you do want.
Right.
Right. So it's saying, I want a partner who is committed to their physical, mental, and spiritual health versus I don't want anybody that smokes.
Right.
Right.
Got it. Yep.
So in that second part, we are creating their order, essentially, that they're putting out to the universe. And we want to be very clear about that because the universe is just a system of laws that you use consistently in a specific way. It does not care what you meant. It cares what you said.
Indeed. Yeah.
So I help my clients create a love list, and we focus on 4 very important areas because those areas are necessary for longevity in the relationship, for compatibility, for a foundation.
Got it.
So a lot of times people will be like, I want him to be tall and I want him to look like this person. And I'm like, that is fine. And there's a place for that in your love list. But what about this person's spirituality? What about the way this person thinks of family?
Yeah.
What about this person's abundance mentality versus a scarcity mindset? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because partner choice is one of the most important things that impacts all these other parts of our lives.
Yeah.
You know, our mental, financial, spiritual, and emotional health.
That is true.
All impacted by our choice of partner.
Yep.
So we do a love list to get crystal clear on what it is that they want. And also so that when that shows up in their life, they can go back to that and go, oh my gosh, this person matches 90% of what's on my list.
Like he exists. He really exists.
They're really out there.
Oh, God.
So that's the second part, is clarity. And there are a couple of other things a couple of other tools that we use in that portion of our work together to really help them embody that feeling of when this person is going to be here and what that's going to be like for them so that they can make their order clearly.
Right.
And some people get so caught up in the fact that the love list works that they don't want to do the healing part. There was someone in one of my communities who was like on her 13th partner that she had manifested with the love list. And I was like, but love, if you stop and do your healing, then you can place a clear order.
Right.
And when this person comes into your life, you won't have to. She kept trying to up level.
Right.
Like, it's okay to do that once or twice,
You're right, but not
like the purpose is to learn how to be a master manifester in the area of love, and you do that with intention.
Clear intention.
From a healthy foundation.
Yes.
So then the third part of what we do has to do with really deep self-love. And a lot of times self-love is just one of those phrases that people use and don't understand. And it's not our fault because it's out there so much. We keep hearing over and over again that you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. Right. But no one actually goes into, well, do I love myself enough? How do I know if I love myself enough? And if I don't, what do I do about that?
Right. Yep.
What do I do to love myself more? So we create very specific daily, weekly, and monthly self-love ritual for them. that they can come into every day and every week and every month. And building that helps them to manifest things that are much more satisfying for them, not just in terms of love, but in terms of everything. Because when we deny ourselves our own love and put ourselves at the end of the list, we tell the universe, which is again the system of laws, right? It's like we tell the universe, don't send me any love because I don't have time for it or patience for it, or I am not worthy of it. And I don't even believe I'm worthy of my own, so you don't have to send me more.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why we focus on the self-love, because when they do that, it's interesting. Usually what they find is that money and promotions and jobs come more easily for them first.
Okay.
And then love.
And then love.
And the reason for that, I think, is because we have these laws, which are just beliefs that we have had for so long that they are functioning all the time without us even thinking about them. They're very concrete and solid. And one of our laws usually says, well, I have the right to not, die starving in the streets and at least have a roof over my head.
Right.
And so if I hustle, money can come to me. So it's like once we supercharge that manifesting ability, it's like, well, we already have laws that say I deserve money, I deserve a job, I deserve promotions, whatever. But we believe that love is this magical, like the gods have to smile on us in a certain way, and it's just for these people can have it, and it's like, you know what I mean? The stars must align perfectly. It's like we just have these beliefs about love being this fairy tale situation that certain people get to have, and so it's a lot harder to change our laws about love.
Okay.
So that's what we do on that deeper level. So that's the third part, is the self-love. And then the fourth part is that I actually do a love manifesting ritual with my client to help call their soulmate into their lives.
Ooh, what does that look like?
That's one of those trade secrets.
Okay, all right. Let's see, y'all gotta hit her up to get that part.
That's right. And I only do that with those private one-on-one clients because that preparation, those 3 steps of preparation beforehand are necessary.
Got it.
The healing and the clarity and the self-love are necessary. Because when you ask for something to come into your life and you're asking someone else to co-sign on that with you energetically, you have to know what you are about.
Yep.
Before you speak your business, your feet have to be firmly planted in what you're doing.
Yep.
So that is part of what we do. That's the fourth part of what we do. And then the fifth part of what we do is the part that does not sound like exciting or sexy at all, but it's very important.
You're gonna work.
Yeah. It's work. And it's what it is actually is you're in this period of time that's the leap of faith. So you've been doing all these things consistently, and then you've just come off of the high of doing this ritual, and you can feel an energy you can feel how close you are. When we do the soul call, you can feel how close this person is to you, and you feel euphoric, and it feels good. And for maybe the first time, you feel this sense of like that you are more connected to this person than you ever believed was possible, even though you can't see them. Like you're sure you have this sense of joyful expectancy, like they are on the way.
Nice.
And then maybe a week goes by and a friend of yours gets married, and you're like, well, mine's coming. Maybe like another week goes by and you have a birthday and it ends with a 0 or a 5. And you're like, well, they're still coming, but your energy is starting to weaken. And that's when I really stay next to my clients and walk with them and like stand in that gap with them, because you can make something take longer to get to you by getting out of that energy of receptivity. It's the idea of like you plant a seed and then you keep digging it up to see what's going on. Why is it,
well,
why is it happening yet?
Because you keep digging it up.
And there are things that happen during that time that let you know you're on the right track.
Okay.
But we often will ignore them or we'll miss them. And that's part of my job, is to help my clients see those things. I call them signs of land, which is what Florence Scovel Shinn called them. She was a metaphysical teacher in the late 1800s. And she would talk about how sailors who knew that they were at sea and couldn't see the land anywhere, if they saw seagulls, they knew that they were close to land because those seagulls had to live on land. So I help my clients see their signs of land. And usually with signs of land, it's something that's giving you the flavor that your manifestation is about to happen.
Right.
And even if it's not the full manifestation. So a lot of times signs of land are things like, if you've gone from, there's this process of like, either you go from like crickets, I'm not hearing anything in my love life, nobody's looking at me, nobody's talking to me,
Nobody's
I'm
checking
going
for
to work,
me.
I'm coming home, and that is what I do.
Yeah.
The next part of that where you're starting to see signs of land are like, okay, I'm getting attention from men now, but it's not the kind of attention I would like, or from maybe the kind of men I would like. So it's
That
maybe
part.
like, yes. So it's like men who are really interested in sex, and those kinds of, and it's like, that is actually a sign of land.
Got it.
So you're moving in that direction, but a lot of times we just go, okay, shut it down, because this is all I'm gonna get.
Right.
So if this is what I'm gonna get, never mind.
This is not what I signed up for.
Then never mind. But what happens after that is then you get attention from the kinds of men that you would be interested in, and it's like you start to get. It goes from like nothing to not great attention, from, not really the kind of aligned men you'd like to be with, to next, it's like you're getting attention and it's good attention, but you're not having chemistry from these men. So it's like, they're good men, but there's not a spark. It doesn't feel passionate, but it's like a good guy who is interested in you. And then next is good guy interested in me, and I'm feeling a passionate spark.
That's the goal.
So there's like an order to the way that you manifest the love. And if you reject it at any of those points, then it's like you push away that manifestation, which doesn't mean that you should sleep with everybody who thinks you're interesting.
Right. Don't stop there.
It just means like you acknowledge that as a sign of land, and you go, okay, great, thanks, I'm on the right track.
Right.
And
nice.
you bless that person and you send them on their way.
So your program, this sounds, the 5 steps, roughly, what kind of timeline are we looking at? A month, 3 months, 6 months?
It's usually about a 6-month timeline. We usually do it in about 20 sessions, but we, because people's schedules are different, and sometimes it goes over a holiday or something like that, it usually ends up being about 6 months. Okay. And what's really important to me to do with my clients is, it's important for me, obviously, to tailor it to their specific situation, because not everybody brings a different experiences to it, and everyone's personality and energy works in a different way. So that is part of why it works so well. And the other part is that I usually use WhatsApp. So I have a WhatsApp chat with my clients, my one-on-one clients, open, so that in between sessions, when things are coming up, they can check in, and we can do like kind of spot coaching on different things. We don't do deep healing work in a WhatsApp chat, but we do. They can tell me like, oh, I had this sign of land show up, or they can say like, they can tell me about things that happen that they're proud about, and I can help encourage them about those things. Or oftentimes they will tell me, because when you start doing deep healing work, your subconscious goes, like I said, it's like, hey, good, great, I'm glad you're doing it, I'm here for this. Here are some things for you to look at now, now that you're willing. And then sometimes they'll have dreams that and the symbolism in the dream will show us where we need to go next in their healing. And it will show us like, this is where they are right now, because their subconscious is always communicating with them in symbols to say, this is what you really think about your life right now. This is how you really feel about your life right now. This is what your intuition has been trying to tell you that you have been ignoring. Or this is what you really want that you don't think you should want. So you're pretending you don't want it. There are all of these things that come up through people's dreams, especially when they start to do the healing work. And so it's really important for us to look at that look at the symbolism of that, and I'll talk with them about that and what some of those symbols could mean, and we see what resonates for them, and then that might help us know the next step for them in their healing process.
Cool. So are your sessions, say, on the other side of the world from you? They don't have to be in person. They can be via Zoom or some other kind of video session.
All my sessions are online sessions because I have clients all over the world.
Got it.
So that's a thing that's interesting for them. And when I first got started, because energy is not subject to the same laws of time and space that we think of things as. So it's always so interesting for me to just see for them, if sometimes I can record something for someone and embed a certain energetic intention in that, and then they can come back and receive that when they're ready, So yeah, energy is
everything.
Energy is everything.
Energy is everything. I tell people that all the time. Energy is everything.
And it's even a thing of where, like, if you're not used to energetic healing, the first time we're doing things, you feel very tired afterwards. It's like you use this next level tool, and it takes your body some time to integrate it. So I'm always telling my clients to drink a lot of water and to get a lot of extra rest when we've done deep energy work. Because your body goes, okay, I know something's very different.
Right. What is
at
going
a deep
on?
level? But I'm going to need some help, like making this okay,
Got it.
So it helps to embody the healing when we do that.
Huh. All right. Wow. I'm really in awe. I'm like, I'm a fan already. You're welcome. No, seriously. And I was all kind of low-key stalking your website. I was like, oh, all kinds of juicy stuff here. Yes. Okay. This is what my listeners need. Again, I'm 54, currently single, very interested in dating with the intention of being in a long-term, rest of my natural life, committed relationship. I think if marriage didn't happen again for me, but I had that long-term and committed monogamous connection with somebody, I may be okay with it, but I kind of still want to get married. But anyway, when you're this old, and I'm 54 is not that old, let me not say that like it is, but for the better part of my life, with the exception of the 7 years I was married, it's just been me. So I'm kind of independent, strong personality. In my job, podcasting, and my day job, I'm a solitary figure in my office, don't really have, an office full of people or guys coming in and out that I can meet. So, I really don't meet a lot of quality guys that I can connect with on more than just that physical level, and who are coming to the table with something other than physical.
Right.
So I don't know I think part of it may be me, the self-sabotage piece. It resonated really strongly all up in my shanana. I was like, okay. So like I said, I'm a fan. It's, I've talked to a lot of people, and I commend what you do on the energy level and the love coaching and taking people through steps and not just being like, all right, let me do this manifestation ritual for you and bring in your love and all that right from the rip. I like that. So my last formal question is, have you ever met a client you couldn't help? And that doesn't mean you weren't capable, but maybe the client wasn't receptive.
Yeah, thinking of one client who, the thing about self-sabotage and the thing about being alone, even when we don't want to be, is that even if our loneliness is a source of sadness or misery for us, it's a familiar sadness and misery.
Yeah.
And there's comfort in that.
Yeah.
So sometimes people freak out when they get close to getting what they've said that they want.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm thinking of a client in particular who, she was like happy with everything and seeing everything open up for her. Beautiful woman, single, divorced mom in her late 50s, living in Orange County.
Okay.
And she left this pattern of she was kind of like a party girl, sort of like she would, and then when she got into her late 50s, like being a party girl wasn't that fun anymore. And then we did the work. She was starting to see changes, and she attracted this person into her life who was very serious about wanting to have a good relationship with her.
Okay.
And the normal things that she would do as a party girl were not sort of like, it wasn't that he wanted her to change, but it was that he wanted to be able to know her. And she had resistance to being vulnerable and really being known and seen. So her party girl thing was part of that, of like, I'm going to send out the party girl, and then she will just have fun, and I don't have to show everybody how vulnerable I feel or how.
Right.
And when this person came into her life, who was everything she said she wanted, she kind of freaked out. She stopped coming to her sessions. You know, she wouldn't respond, and she just like, and I could sort of tell, like, when somebody is I can tell when someone's about to trigger their self-sabotage, because some people are more they're like, yeah about that, yeah, well, yeah, I'll get back to you. I'll let you know about, you know, some people are like that, and other people,
Right.
very rarely someone will just kind of disappear off the face of the earth. And in her case, she just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth.
Wow.
And I checked, because part of me was even like, well, did something happen to her?
Right,
like, is she okay?
right.
I was like, no, she's okay. She just kind of like went back to the party girl thing.
Okay.
I saw that that's what she went back to do. And then there are other people who self-sabotage, and, you know, it might be that they say, like, the thing that I've seen happen most often, where I look at that other 13%, because 87%, right, of my clients are in those happy, healthy relationships in those 3 to 6 months.
Right.
But that means there's 13% that aren't.
Right. Yep.
And some of those people, it just took longer.
Okay.
And for other of those people, they just, I don't know what happened.
Right.
And it could be that they got close, and it was just too, you know, because the new thing is good and it feels good, but it doesn't feel familiar yet.
Right.
It does not feel familiar. It's very scary.
Yeah.
And it sometimes can be a tremendous source of anxiety to feel like you're constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. Yep.
You're in this new relationship and things seem good, and you keep being like, it seems good.
Right. Too good to be true.
They're going to figure out that I am broken in this way that I have not shown them and they haven't seen yet.
Right. Yeah.
Or they're going to show me some side of them that I haven't seen yet. And
right.
I'm going to be unhappy. Or I've even had people think, well, even if it's a good relationship, eventually one of us is going to die.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that is a very powerful limiting belief.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
good Lord.
You know, that is true, but there are other things that are good that are also true.
That are also true. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, Miss Carisa, we are to the end of our time together. So that means that it's time for 10 candid questions. Okay, 10 candid questions. These are going to be 10 questions, random questions, and you have to, there's only one rule. You have to give me a candid answer right off the top of your head. Try not to think too much about it. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is your biggest pet peeve?
What is my biggest pet peeve? Mean people.
It's one of mine too. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Love. Women getting married, like sending me their wedding invitations and stuff.
Nice. Yep. What is your favorite curse word?
God damn it. Reminds me of my grandma.
Oh, if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a single piece of advice, what would it be?
Love yourself more than you're loving everyone else.
I like that. Might have to put that in the show notes. Morning person or night owl?
Morning person. I love my bed. I love sleep. I would go to sleep at 7 o'clock every night if I could. You cannot shame me for going to bed early. I love my bed.
Me too. What is the one thing that the world is lacking?
love. People don't love themselves enough. Real love, not arrogance or conceit, like actual love.
Yep, I agree. Dogs or cats?
Cat.
What's one question that you wish that I had asked you, and what would your answer have been?
That's a hard thing for an introvert to respond to. I'm never hoping we get more questions.
Right.
Maybe it was, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And then I would have said introvert.
You know what's funny is I have this huge list of questions and I kind of randomly pick 9 because the 10th one is always the same. And that was one of them, but I was like, nope. So now, okay, so that was the one question, and your answer would have been introvert. Really? Now that's interesting because you're a love coach, that you're an introvert. Huh.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, so I'm like I can talk to you because it feels like I'm just talking to you.
Right. Got it. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell my listeners but didn't get the chance to during our conversation?
I would want to tell your listeners that self-love is the best love, and they have to love themselves first and love themselves best, and then the other kinds of love will come to them.
Awesome. Again, that's going to be in the show notes, people.
Oh, and I would also tell your listeners, you don't make love happen, you make love welcome.
You make love welcome. Got it. And the last question, how can my single lady listeners connect with you?
They can connect with me on my website, which is Carisa Montooth, CarisaMontooth.com, or they can connect to me on Instagram, and my handle on Instagram is Carisa Love Healer. So Carisa Love Healer.
Okay. Awesome.
They can slide into my DMs.
Slide in the DMs. I love it. I love it. And guys, as always, all of her contact information will be in the show notes, and there'll be clickable links, so you don't even have to copy and paste. You can just click on it and go to her website, which is pretty awesome because I was all over it. And avail yourself of her services if you're so inclined. Like, your girl might just have to, because it's getting bad out here for me in this dating scene. So, Miss Carisa Montooth, thank you so, so very much for joining me. This hour, these chit chats, they go by so fast. And I always wish I had more time, but I am glad that you gave me this time to sit down and talk to me and my listeners. And you gave us some really good gems to hold on to. And I appreciate you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you so much.
You're
it's
so
really
welcome.
been lovely talking with you.
Likewise, likewise. All right, guys, that's a wrap on this candid chit chat with Miss Carisa Montooth. And like I say at the end of every episode, I want you guys to keep it safe, keep it healthy, and keep it candid.